Video of provocative Russia released last night. Video shows large number U.S. weapons appeared in Poland, which can ship to Ukraine any time. Poland also demonstrated powerful F-16 fighter group, including 200 F-16 fighters stopped in Poland. Russia understands once U.S. provides F-16 fighters to Ukraine may take off from Poland. Therefore, Russia warns that no matter which country's airport from F-16, the airport will become the target of Russia's bombing. Similarly, Russia also warns that no matter which country's port to transport weapons to Ukraine, the country's port will also become the goal of bombing in Russia. Russia clearly stated that they will use hypersonic missiles to fight. Russia's supersonic speed missile has powerful strength, and even the U.S. air defense system cannot resist. Russia has issued instructions to be ready as long as they see fighters from any country rushing towards Russia. They will bomb the country's airport. This is a warning of Russia to Poland and other countries. Russia's warning sparked confusion in Polish, and most Polish people took the streets to oppose the war, do not want to assist Ukraine. The people of Ukraine understand that if they are angry with Russia, Poland will become the first country to be hit. The Germans also express their attitudes that do not support the war. They go to the streets to stop assistance. Ukraine followed closely, and the people in France and Italy and Ukraine also came forward to oppose the war and called for stopping support for Ukraine. This exactly the effect Russia wants to see. They want to arouse anger of people and see if these countries dare to continue supporting Ukraine. If dare to support, Russia will bomb these countries. The people will be most affected party by the attack. The intensification of the threat of war led to the tension of the international situation, and Russia issued a clear warning to the world with the strength of its hypersonic missile. This crisis requires calm responses to all parties, and seek peaceful solutions to avoid greater conflicts and humanitarian disasters.
Clear that we should continue to provide military equipment to Ukraine so that they can defend themselves. Do you support this decision, and how would you deal with the increasing threat posed by Vladimir Putin?
First of all, thank you very much. It's really nice. And it's an important question, so important, because we're giving away so much equipment. We don't have ammunition for ourselves right now. We don't have ammunition for ourselves. We're giving away so much. But here's the thing. I have to say it to start off, no longer matters. If I were president, this would have never happened. And even the Democrats admit that. Putin knew it would have never happened. And his pipeline would have never happened. A lot of things would have never happened. But this would never happen. And all those dead people, both Russian and Ukrainian, they wouldn't be dead today. And all those cities that are blown up and disintegrated right to the ground, that wouldn't have happened. Okay, now, here's the problem. We've given so far $171 billion. They've given, meaning European Union, which is approximately the same size altogether as our economy. They've given about 20. So we're at 170, let's say, and they're at 20. You don't have to know too much about history to realize, or geography, to realize that they're a little bit more affected than we are, okay? So they've got to put up a lot more money because they're taking advantage of us like every other country did. That's why I ended NAFTA and replaced it with the USMCA, Mexico,
But on
Canada.
this issue, Mr. President, I should know, I don't know any Democrats who have said they don't believe Putin would have invaded if you were president. But her question is, would you continue to give Ukraine money and weapons if you're elected? What's the answer?
I have a very good relationship with President Zelensky because, as you know, he backed me up with the phony impeachment hoax number one when he said the president didn't do anything wrong. So I happen to like. Yeah, that's right. And I was totally exonerated, by the way. Just a waste of time and money.
You were impeached over that. But let's stay on topic here, Mr. President, because the question is, would you give Ukraine weapons
I was
and funding?
impeached by a crazy woman named Nancy Pelosi.
But the question here is, would you give Ukraine weapons and funding if you were
I would sit down. Let me just put it a nicer way. If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours.
How would you settle that war in one day?
I'll meet with Putin. I'll meet with Zelensky. They both have weaknesses and they both have strengths. And within 24 hours, that war will be settled. It'll be over. It'll be absolutely over.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down.
When it comes to the war in Ukraine, a lot of people get this wrong. You see, this is not something that started in 2022 or even in 2014 or 2009. This goes back 100 years, okay? Because we just won't leave the Russians alone. When they had the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, do you know what we did? We actually invaded Russia. I don't think many people know this, but England sent 70,000 troops to invade the Russians. The United States also invaded Russia under what's called the Expeditionary Force. Even after the war ended in 1918, we were still attacking the Russians with chemical weapons. And then in World War II, when the Russians were the first to reach Berlin, when the Russians destroyed the German army, when the Russians inflicted 80% of German casualties, we again punished them because they reached the capital first. They were in Berlin first. And you had this immense power in struggle. You know, this country, this largest country on earth, has a better army than us, the one that destroyed the Nazi war machine. And so even before World War II ended, you got Winston Churchill saying that the next war is going to be against the Russians. And so now you have the entire Cold War going on for 50 years in various theaters of war, mainly in Europe, but also in Afghanistan, in Africa, and so on. And we just won't leave the Russians alone. And then after the Russians lost the Cold War in the 1990s, we start splitting Yugoslavia, right? Because Yugoslavia, it's not Russian, but it's next in line. It's like a salami tactic, right? So it's the first one in line on the way to Russia. So we just keep, balkanizing planet, just like we did 100 years earlier in the Middle East. We do the same thing again in Yugoslavia. We bomb the crap out of them. We split them up and carve them up into little pieces. We splinter them. Now you've got countries, bit by bit joining NATO, which would have been unthinkable. These are Warsaw Pact countries. So we lied to the Russians to get them to accept German reunification. And then as soon as that happened, we turn around and the very thing that we said we wouldn't do, which is expand NATO past Germany. And now we start surrounding Russia with more and more NATO countries. And then comes Ukraine, which is the last chip, right? It's the last thing before Russia. And you have 2014 with the Maidan coup. And it's not about making the case for the Russians or feeling sorry for the Russians. It's about waking people up that this war in Ukraine now, that's happening now, this is something that's been going on for 100 years. In the Russian psyche, they have, of course, Hitler in mind. They have the American and British invasion in mind. They also have Charles VII. They have Napoleon in mind. So it's just one European leader after the next, invading them, bombing them, attacking them, and just won't leave them the goddamn hell alone.
Brother, I want you to give me 5.